Okay.
We have a correction to the minutes. Betty Head was here at the June meeting and did not get on, so we will correct those minutes.
This is the June meeting, and I always just mentioned this. It will be corrected in the final version.
Well, it will be in these minutes. We don't correct those, we just put it in this version that she was at that meeting.
But it will be reflected. Oh, great. And am I introducing Megan? Am I introducing Megan?
Barney has the commissioners meeting.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's, oh, I see, we both have.
Yeah, we almost give you. And of our two,
I just realized I've got to go get back at the agenda and pick it up. I'll do that.
this is the award that we got for the Education Association for digital marketing. And they had a local artist do a painting.
I like
It's for a digital marketing campaign. It's the second award in 2 months.
All right. Okay, let's gather everyone. Please take your seats so we can begin. Good morning. I'm Kevin Burke, Chair of the Greenway Conservancy, and delighted to see all of you here this morning on this fall morning here in the Hudson Valley. I hope everyone had a great summer. It really feels like fall is underway once we have our first Greenway meeting, so thank you all for coming. We have a full agenda today and looking forward to the business at hand and also to hearing from all of you and advancing our mission. So before we begin, let's all say the Pledge of Allegiance. Our flag is over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we begin with introductions. So again, I'm Kevin Burke, and I guess let's start here with Barney, and we'll go around,
Okay.
see who's here.
Yeah, I'm Barney McHenry, and I just made the train.
Scott Keller, Executive Director of the Greenway and the National Heritage Area.
Hi, Megan Phillips. I'm with the Governor's Office.
Beth Pizzicciaro, Greenway staff.
Bob Elliott, Council Board Member.
Jay McLaughlin, Conservancy Treasurer.
Kitty Brown, Conservancy Board Member.
Good morning, Mary McNamara, Communities Council Member from Ulster County.
Rich Shafo, Green County Economic Development and Planning.
Linda Ulrich, Council Board Member.
Michelle Smith, Communities Council representing Putnam County.
Sarah Olson, Conservancy Member.
Johanna Yuan, Orange County Historian and Communities Council for Orange County.
Fran Donahue, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Owen Rafter, representing County Executive Marcus Molinaro.
Hi, I'm Betty Head, and I'm a Communities Council Member from Albany County. Hi, I'm Lynn Vonderheide, representing Rensselaer County and the Council.
Jane Daniels, Conservancy Member.
Frank Rooney, New York State Department of Ag and Markets.
Jason Wolfair, New York State DOT Delegate for Commissioner Dominguez.
Good morning, I'm Jimmy Eaker, New York State Department of State Office of Planning.
Daniela Weiss, Greenway Conservancy Board Member.
And then in the back.
Start on that side.
Hi, I'm Sean Sawyer, President of the Amana Partnership.
Susan Siegel, Yorktown Trailtown Committee.
Diane Dintroff, Meetup Coordinator, Hudson Valley and Beyond Kayaking Club and Kingston Paddle Pals.
Hello, Jennifer Carlquist from Boscobel House and Gardens.
Hi, I'm Constance Kehoe. It's Revolutionary Westchester 250.
Yay. Sarah Wasberg Johnson, Director of Education, Hudson River Maritime Museum in Kingston.
Eric Roth with Mohonk Preserve.
Susan Boudreau, Historic Site Manager, Claremont State Historic Site.
Jennifer Hemmerlein, Executive Director of the Friends of Claremont State Historic Site.
Hello, Jim Hookema from the Newburgh Historical Society and also representing the Fullerton Center.
Diane Harnwell, Mayor of Village of Alacia. Karen DeTore, Village of Osping.
Cassie Ward with the Putnam History Museum.
Lisa DeLue, Town of Gallatin.
John Riley, Supervisor, Town of Gallatin.
Priscilla Brenner, Executive Director of Greater Hudson Heritage Network.
Kathleen Davis, Hyde Park Trails and Winnetou Land Trust.
Carl Beard from the National Park Service Rivers and Trails Program.
Paul Glesta, Hudson Valley Greenway, EST Project Director.
Great. And we should acknowledge those who are on the phone. Is there anyone calling in?
Vincent Altieri for Rockland County Executive Ed Day.
Rockland County.
Anyone else on the phone?
Tom O'Livery from the Office of General Services.
Anyone else on the phone? Okay, hearing none. And then did we miss anyone who came in? Okay, good. All right, we also, before we have our presentations, wanted to acknowledge and welcome to the troupe our new members. Rich, you introduced yourself, quickly, but do you want to say a few more words about kind of your background and what brings you to the Greenway? We're obviously very excited to have you.
Rich Chaffo, I'm representing Greene County Economic Development and Planning, but been working in the Hudson Valley for the past 20 years or so for a variety of different organizations and a number of colleagues I see around the room, and just excited to be here on behalf of Greene County.
Thank you. We're happy to have you. And then also, I believe there's someone on the phone representing, but we have a new other member, Christian Leo, who's the delegate for Commissioner Destito of the New York State OGS. Chris is the Associate Commissioner for the New York State Office of General Services, but is not joining us today. But we want to recognize that Christian is now on board. Okay. Well, as I mentioned, we've got a full agenda, beginning with a very, I think, important presentation from Megan Phillips. Before Megan comes up here, let's have Barney introduce her.
Megan?
Thanks so much.
No, we're delighted you're here, and I don't have your CV, but tell us about it. You've been doing this for about a year.
Sure. Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So I've been in this role in the governor's office as the senior policy advisor for the environment for about a year. But I've been working in state government ever since I came to Albany in 2014. First with the Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. Next with the Department of Environmental Conservation, and most recently with the Department of State. So I have had the opportunity to work with some of the communities that are a part of the compact and a part of the geographic area in which we're working here with the Greenway through the local waterfront revitalization program. So I think that there's a pretty significant nexus with some of the work that's being done there. So I do feel a personal connection to many pieces of the mission, and I'm happy to be here to learn more about it and hear about the good work that you all are doing. Thank you.
About as green as you can be.
And Megan, do you want to come up here?
Sure.
For your presentation? The floor is yours. Thank you again for coming.
Thanks so much. All right. Can everybody hear me okay? Yep. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, first I want to start by saying what an honor it is to be here today. This is my first time in Hyde Park. Seems like a beautiful community, and I'd love to spend more time exploring. Before I go into my presentation today, I want to extend kudos to the folks working with the Greenway for some of the recent achievements that they've undertaken with a couple of awards. Sorry if I'm stealing your thunder if you're going to talk about this later. But the digital marketing campaign that was initiated for the Train Tour app has received several accolades recently, so hats off to you all for that good work. And then, of course, finishing another successful Hudson River Valley Ramble last month with more than 200 events going on. So I'm hoping that next year I can come and join you for at least one of them and bring some of my colleagues as well. So hold me to it, Scott. So, as I mentioned, I do feel a personal connection to the work that you all are doing here in the Greenway. I think that it's one of the most unique agencies that we work with. So for a little bit of context, in my role, we oversee 8 different environmental agencies and authorities, ranging from entities as large as the Department of Environmental Conservation to smaller agencies like the Hudson River Black River Regulating District and the Hudson River Valley Greenway. So even though this organization is smaller than some of the other groups that I work with, I think there's just a ton of work on the plate, and it's really unique in the sense that it's developing a voluntary program that communities can opt into. So I think that that's really important and is a way that Hudson River Valley Greenway can be a leader in empowering communities and being a good example of how the state can provide the tools, but then rely on the locality to really weave it together to create solutions that work best for that community and make decisions that recognize the community's past and where they're going to in the future. So I mentioned before, of the 272 Greenway communities, I've had the pleasure of working with a few of them during my tenure at Department of State, notably the city of Newburgh and the village of Haverstraw as they work to develop or update their local waterfront revitalization programs. And in that role, I learned a lot about community planning. That wasn't my background. I'm not a planner by schooling necessarily. But what I came to understand is that planning is everything. It touches everything. So in a way, it's a very generalist theme that covers scenic resources, economic development, environmental conservation, protection of cultural resources, transportation, all of these things. And I love the way that through the compact, the Greenway is thinking in networks, thinking about regional coordination, how can we connect communities not just through physical linkages, but through collaborative efforts as well. So Scott asked me to talk a little bit about how the governor's office works with the agency. And I can tell you, most recently, we've been working on a really exciting initiative that was announced in last year's State of the State. That's the Empire State Water Trail. Are folks a little bit familiar with that? Show of hands? Okay. All right, great. So folks know. So that's going to be a complement to the Empire State Trail, and I know Paul's in the back today. Great to have you here. And this is going to be a sister water trail to the land-based trail, the Empire State Trail, that's going to link together over 1,700 miles of existing water trail across the state, of course, including the Greenway's waterways that have already been developed so thoughtfully. And these are going to be linked with branding and a website, but still recognizing the individual segments of water trail that are managed by partner entities across the state. We're pursuing this initiative with existing funding through the Greenway, so thank you so much for helping us to do that work. We're doing marketing right now, working on partner outreach, and eventually we'll be creating signage and a website. So there's more to come on that, but we really welcome your feedback and thoughts on how to best shape that initiative as it comes together. And I think that it's perfect that we're housing that at the Greenway for several reasons. As we think about these land and water-based trails and how they revitalize our communities, there are questions that the group that's working on the Empire State Water Trail is really trying to grapple with and wrap our arms around. Some of those questions include, how should we leverage this new investment to support communities along the trail? How do we connect our vibrant downtowns to reimagined waterfronts through this initiative? And how do we tell the story of a place's history through these land and water-based trails and offer interpretive materials that can help to tell that story? So all that being said, I think that it's perfect for this to live with the Greenway, and I really thank Scott and Beth and Cody for all of their work to advance this so far, and for all of you to hopefully weigh in and let us know what you think and how we can make it really a great complement to the Empire State Trail. I want to talk a little bit about some future work that we're going to be doing, and I think the folks in this room will have a role to play in that as well. As some folks may be aware, on September 14th, the governor made an announcement in New York City and said that for the State of the State in 2020, we would be unveiling a new proposal, a nation-leading aquatic habitat restoration program. So I'm sure that that's of interest to folks in this room, and I can tell you that we are still fleshing it out and working very hard on it up at the Capitol. But there are some things that we've already committed to and things that we can talk about a little bit today. So during the governor's announcement in the city, he did commit to doubling our shellfish restoration initiative off the coast of Long Island. So our new target for shellfish is $400 million by the year 2026. And we'll be working with our partners at Cornell Cooperative Extension and many other partners to make that happen. Of course, we know that planting oysters and other shellfish helps to filter our waters, and we need to, of course, make sure that the habitats that we're planting these creatures in are clean and healthy and able to support that wildlife. So that leads to the next part of Revive Mother Nature, and that's the habitat restoration piece. As we start to think about projects that are important for the different regions across the state, as this will be a statewide initiative, we're looking to some of the work that's already been done to identify priority projects here in the Hudson Valley, and we know that there are things that we could do that would greatly improve the habitats for native species like river herring and American eel. So we're looking at potential projects like dam removals, culvert mitigation, wetland restoration, sustainable shorelines, restoring the floodplain, and land acquisition to allow for the natural migration of wetlands as we look ahead to sea level rise. What I think is also really important, and this is where this intersects with another initiative that is important to the governor's office and the state as a whole, is that many of these projects will have a resilience co-benefit for our communities. So we're talking about flood storage, infrastructure right-sizing, and making sure that we don't have infrastructure losses during major storms. And of course, water quality protection, which is so important to the communities that are using the Hudson River as a source of drinking water. And to kind of wrap up, I see my role here today is really listening to you all and trying to help deliver the resources so the agency can carry out its good work. I really appreciate the fact that the Greenway is a good example of how we can tell the story of a place. And I think you all do that very well by recognizing and interpreting the cultural and natural resources of the Hudson River Valley and showcasing those for generations. I want to leave you with a quote by Andrei Codescu. I know I was going to say that a little bit wrong. He's a Romanian-American poet and NPR commentator, and I found this quote to be really inspiring. I came upon it during my work with the LWRP program at Department of State. Wise old cities have always known that the river is more than a thoroughfare for the passage of goods. A city's river is also a spiritual artery, a place for the citizens to stroll and think, remember, and exercise. The river focuses the soul of the city. Thanks so much for your attention.
There's time for some questions.
Does anybody have a question?
Have any questions for Megan? It's a great chance. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, I'm glad that you touched on the Revive Mother Nature initiative. I think a lot of us are very, very interested in that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very focused on aquatic habitat. Do you see that expanding at all to terrestrial habitat?
That's a great question. I think that we're still scoping it out, but I could see, some pretty salient connections to land conservation, especially if they're lands that are critical for the protection of headwaters, tributaries, things of that nature. But I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on it. So if you'd like to connect afterward or send me a note, I can give you my card.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Megan. It's great to see you out of Albany for a bit.
It's great to be out of Albany.
Hudson Valley. Your remarks are great, and what strikes me about it is, the opportunity that we have, and I think to some extent it's always the opportunity we've had here in the Hudson Valley, which is the relationship and the balance between access and public enjoyment and protections for nature and wildlife. And I would just encourage you as we move forward and thinking about what an approach for the Hudson Valley is and our watershed, that we be thinking about that relationship very closely, and how we can be achieving multiple benefits through Revive Mother Nature or any other initiatives that the governor proposes this year. And they're all, of course, super exciting, and we look forward to seeing more detail.
Absolutely. Thanks for that comment, Andy. I do think that the public access piece is really important, and I'm certain that we'll find a way to weave that in to make sure that that is a value that's upheld in addition to protecting the natural resources. So thank you for that.
Hi. Are you also looking at invasive species such as the water chestnut and the Phragmites that are affecting the water? Actually, wildlife don't necessarily have good nesting or food sources on that?
Sure. Thanks for the question, Linda. I think we'd be remiss not to include invasive species prevention and control in any sort of habitat restoration initiative, right? So we'll certainly be thinking about that. Not only for invasive species that we're already contending with here in this part of the state, but ones that might be coming in as a result of climate change and expanding ranges. So that's a great consideration, and we're definitely considering that, yeah. Hi.
Hi, I'm...
It's on. They are, the ones at the table are designed to record for the webcast. So
Okay, I'm Betty Head, Albany County Communities Council. There's the Climate Smart Communities Initiative, which you may well know of, and I'm sure there are any number of other initiatives that are out there that have been put forth in recent years to help communities go forward in this era of dealing with climate change. Do you see any number, as I am sure you do, of dovetailing this kind of effort with those efforts that are already out there? I know in my own community of Altamont, New York, which is in the more, going toward the more rural area of Albany County, it's been suggested that we explore that effort of climate smart communities, but it hasn't seemed to take hold. People are busy doing other things, but I think the idea is really gestating in the community at this point. People are busy doing other things, but maybe it will take hold after a fashion. But my point is, it always goes back to money. And can we see some money in the budget coming up in this next budget session for this kind of initiative?
Sure. I can't speak to the numbers just yet as they're still being hashed out. But I think part of your question relates to also how we're going to implement the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, which of course will have bearing on how we prepare for climate change and then also mitigate the impacts. I think that we're definitely going to be looking to work closely with communities so that they can emerge as leaders in that space. Climate Smart Communities is one of the ways that we can empower communities to do that. And I really can't give away any of the details of how we're planning on implementing that piece of legislation that is so robust and ambitious. But I can guarantee that we will be moving forward with doing that and seeking to hear from stakeholders about the best way to engage our municipal partners in reaching our very ambitious clean energy goals. So if you want to talk more offline about what can be done in the community of Altamont, I can definitely connect you with people who could answer all your questions about that program. I'd be happy to. And then in terms of funding for Revive Mother Nature, because they're definitely related, but at this point, distinct proposals that we're working on. We're exploring a myriad of potential funding options for how to undertake the vast number of projects that have been identified. But I do want to note that we're not trying to pick out projects just out of thin air. There are projects that have been identified by our various state agencies through their planning efforts, working closely with the communities across the state. So there definitely are dovetailing, and we're seeking to achieve efficiencies and synergies at every turn. Thanks.
Megan, I have a question for you, which is for historic sites or communities that are sitting on man-made ponds that were dammed years ago of significance, that are in a process through natural kind of erosion going back toward wetlands. Is the state providing any guidance on that? In other words, on one hand, you could argue for historical reasons that the dam, if it's of historical significance, should be preserved. On the other hand, you could say, let nature take its course and go back to wetlands, even though that may lose its historical significance. I mean, it's a very specific question, but I'm just wondering, is the state, as part of its program, going to be providing any guidance around issues like that?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to it.
No, I wonder, because when Aldrich will appreciate this, where are you? But over here at Valkill, Eleanor Roosevelt's home, there is that very situation where FDR and Eleanor dammed and created a pond that's now in a process of returning to wetlands through, not intentional reasons, but just neglect and years. And I think one of the things of concern is, should we be trying to preserve the pond that FDR created, for example, or just say, let this go to wetland? So it's a big debate.
Philosophical question,
yes, exactly.
And I could see arguments for either outcome.
And Crusade Creek and Newburgh, too. But there you go. So you see, it's an issue. I just wonder if the state would provide any guidance on it.
Sure.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear about. I think that I need to educate myself on that topic more so, and I'll go back to the experts and the agencies and see what we can do about providing some clarity around that issue. Thank you for raising it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, over here.
Many of our partners at the Greenway, Riverkeeper, Scenic Hudson, and others have written comments about the Danskammer plant, which is slated for Newburgh. Among them are just basically that the process, they have 110 pages of comments that point out the flaws in the Danskammer plan. And one of the major ones is about environmental racism, that it's cited in one of the highest poverty communities, the city of Newburgh. But there are 110 pages worth of other problems. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but we have been calling the governor's office and asking that you and he just take a look at the actual plan, the scoping document, and ask that Danskammer respond to those flaws before any approvals are given. So I just want to get that on your radar. I know everything you said today just, makes my heart glad. So I would just like to bring this major dirty fossil fuel project to your attention.
Yes, thank you. There are several folks on my team that I work with closely for whom environmental justice issues are very paramount. So I will definitely make sure to flag it to them. I would appreciate it if we could follow up offline about that. Thanks, Kristen.
Any other comments? Okay, well, Megan, thank you so much.
All right.
It's been wonderful
Thanks.
having you here. We hope to have you here again. Thank you.
Me
Thank
too.
you. Okay, next on our agenda, we've got two special proclamations. Both are related to the Hudson River Valley Ramble, which I know Beth will be giving an update on later, but these are specifically for champions of the Ramble who've done a lot and gone above and beyond. I want to know if you want to say anything about these recipients, or Scott, perhaps you. I think it would be nice to kind of give some context to the awards.
Cody, Dan, you want to bring up the quilt? We were approached, or Beth was approached earlier this year by Peggy Lockwood from the Fort Montgomery State Historic Site, asking for some of our old Ramble Leader t-shirts because she wanted to make, well, a quilt. So that was, it's something we've never had asked of us before. And our Vanna Whites are showing it off. You can see the front and the back. So we are... So, do you want me to read the proclamation? Sure. So, certificate of highest merit presented to Peggy Lockwood, Fort Montgomery State Historic Site, for her generous donation of effort, time, and talent to the 20th anniversary of the Hudson River Valley Ramble by creating a memorial t-shirt quilt using various Ramble Leader shirts from the past 20 years, presented this 9th day of October 2019 by the Hudson River Valley Greenway. And the other proclamation we have is a volunteer recognition certificate to David and Carol White. David and Carol have worked, they joined us, they were latecomers, they weren't as early as Jane, they didn't join the Ramble until the second year, and after last year's Ramble they announced they were physically unable to continue to lead events that they had led for 18 consecutive years. So we wanted to recognize them with a volunteer recognition certificate presented to David and Carol White for their dedication and commitment to the Hudson River Valley Greenway and their efforts to promote our region by hosting hikes for nearly 20 years on the Hudson River Valley Ramble, presented this 9th day, et cetera, by the Hudson River Valley Greenway. So, if you want to call for motions and seconds on those,
Just one. So we would like to formalize this with a resolution for both of these certificates. So for that, we'll need a first and second. I think it can come from the Conservancy and the Council, either one. So first, Jane, okay, and a second. Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Wonderful. That's great. Okay. It's wonderful to see such volunteers who are both creative and imaginative, but also so dedicated to the Valley. All right, moving to the business portion of the meeting, we have to review our agenda and call for any board member comments on the agenda. And I also wanted the minutes to reflect that today is Yom Kippur, and it was a bit of a disappointment that we had to use this date, but it was the only one that was available to us. But it's certainly one of the holiest days of the year in the Jewish faith, and we want to just pause to reflect on that and to acknowledge it and keep all of those who are kind of in services on this morning in our thoughts. Okay, any other comments, review of the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward. Yes?
We have a community to add designation of the Village of Cambridge,
Okay.
Washington County.
Great, and that would be in the council's portion?
Council's portion.
Great. Okay, now we have to approve some past minutes. The first is for the June 12th, 2019 combined meeting of the Greenway Communities Council and Conservancy. I also wanted to let everyone know that the minutes will reflect that Betty Head was here at that meeting. Hopefully everyone had a chance to review before the meeting. I'd like to put them in the books, first and second. Bob is first, second on approving the minutes. Okay, Mary, thank you so much. All in favor? Great. Any opposed? Wonderful. Okay, and the next is just for the grants
committee, which met on September 30th, just a couple weeks ago, to review all the grants that we'll be awarding today. So this is just for the grants committee, and this is to approve those minutes from that meeting. So this is, again, for those who are on that call. Lynn is a first. Okay, a second. Bob? All in favor from the grants committee? Aye. Any opposed? And I think the recusals are noted somewhere. Are there any? In the minutes. Okay, great. All right. So carried. And now we move into the Communities Council portion of the meeting. And for that, Chairman McHenry will take over.
Thank you, Kevin. And thank you all for coming. And I can't resist pointing out that today we will be granting more money, $28,000, than we did in the whole first 2 years of our council, when we both had different hair colors.
Yes, we did.
But as Winnie Ulrich would say, we're all still here, and that's what counts. And it
and the money is still here.
and it is a wonderful little machine that Cuomo Pear created many years ago, actually before this building was built. And it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. How many years is it, Scott?
26?
Yeah, 26. There are probably some people here who remember them. Is it? All right. Now, let us turn first to the, I have to call the meeting to order, the council meeting to order. We have I find that there is a quorum, and that cannot be challenged. And the council grants, as I said, were $28,400. And Scott, if you would go over those, and
sure.
And we'll get one resolution at the end.
One resolution for the grants and for the new Greenway community at the end. Yes, sir.
Yep.
The town of Gallatin in Columbia County is requesting a comprehensive plan review to update their 2007 comprehensive plan. They have requested $8,500, and that's what the committee is recommending. And I believe Supervisor John Riley is here today, if you'd like to say a couple of words.
Thank you for letting us attend. This grant's very important to the town of Gallatin. We're a very large town with a very small population, rural, farming-based, and without your support, we couldn't undertake projects like redoing our comprehensive plan. Our town has hit a crossroads. We're moving away from large-scale farming. We are now attracting smaller agritourism-based businesses. We are lucky that the state has provided broadband for the first time in the history of Gallatin. So we are going from no broadband to high-speed fiber. That's going to change our town remarkably. We're going to have people now staying, instead of Saturday and Sunday, they're staying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We're hoping that this will change our demographics a little bit. We're flatlined with population. We are one of the oldest towns in the county, and the county is one of the oldest counties in the state. So we're looking towards the future. The Greenway grant allows us to redo our plan to look at new business development using our fiber, working on our agritourism projects, and more importantly, we're looking at redoing our closed landfill, which has access to the Rojan, right to the Hudson River, about 27 acres that we've put together over the years. And we're going to establish a community center there that will have public access to the river, have a senior room for our seniors to recognize that part of our population, and to expose people to the natural beauty of Gallatin. So we're very appreciative of this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. The second grant, please go ahead. The second grant is for the Village of Athens in Greene County to update the Town-Village Comprehensive Plan, also from 2007. They have requested $9,900, and that's what they requested $10,000, and the Greenway is awarding $9,900 because they only had $9,900 in match. I don't believe there's anyone here from the, oh, there is somebody here. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Dr. Josh Lipsman, and I'm a trustee of the Village Board in Athens, and we are pleased as Punch to have received this matching grant. As Mr. Keller said, the comprehensive plan for the village and the town was compiled in 2007 and hasn't really been reviewed since then. We're facing a lot of new economic and environmental challenges. The village and town are in Greene County, which is one of the most impoverished counties in the Hudson Valley. We need to look at ways to bring in businesses and retain the economic viability of our village and our town, and at the same time we're right on the river, and as you all know, forecasts are for 5 feet of river rise before the end of the century, and we need to look at ways to make our waterfront more sustainable, more resilient, while maintaining access and the economic development, as I mentioned before. So quite happy to be on the receiving end of this, and we look forward to sharing our product with you and progress reports as we move along. Thank you.
Thank you. The next grant is for the Village of Alacia, Columbia County, to do Kinderhook Creek shoreline resiliency improvements. They requested $10,000, and the Grants Committee is recommending $10,000. And I believe we have Mayor Diane Argyle here from the Village of Alacia.
Thank you. I want to thank the Greenway for this grant. We really do appreciate it. This is our second phase of our project, long-term project that we're doing with the Village of Kinderhook to restore Kinderhook Creek as a recreation and economic growth for both villages. The resiliency is really very important. And then this is our second phase. A third phase will be working on it, but this will help our recreation and also help us attract people because we have the trailway going right next to it. And between the trailway and the River Creek Trailway, we hope to develop this as a vital economic product for the Village of Alacia. Thank you very much. We appreciate your offer.
Thank you. Those three were all Greenway Council community grants. Our next grant is a council compact grant for the Village of Ossining, Westchester County. They've requested $18,000 to update the village's 2009 comprehensive plan, and the Grants Committee is recommending funding that at $18,000. And I believe we have Village Manager Karen DeTore. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much. We are thrilled to get this grant. We also are in the process of updating a comprehensive plan that was done in 2009. And of primary importance is really building economic development that's truly inclusive of our very socioeconomically diverse community. We prize that diversity very much, and we want to make sure that resonates. Also, resiliency for our water. We are a waterfront community as well, and we're just so grateful to have this support and be part of this program. We're really looking to do something unique and innovative that truly speaks to the need for diverse, thriving, and vibrant communities that also build economic development and access for all of its residents. Thank you so much.
So that is a total of $46,400. And when we vote on that grant, my understanding is Assemblywoman Gailiff will abstain on that grant because she wrote a letter of support, an eloquent letter of support for that grant. The next item is the request for designation as a Greenway community, which we received on Tuesday from the Village of Cambridge, Washington County. I don't believe we have anybody here from Cambridge, but this is once again thanks to the efforts of Jean Williams, who's the Executive Director of the Feeder Canal Alliance, and who goes around both Saratoga and Washington counties encouraging them to join the Greenway. So, Jeannie, wherever you are, thank you. And we're ready for a vote, sir.
Okay. Now comes the hard part. We have I find a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve? Bob? And a second? Heather? And so all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Those opposed? Okay. That's not an opposed vote. No. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, yes.
But, not sure how your process works, but our department wrote a letter of support for the Village of Athens grant, so I don't know if I need to recuse myself from. If your department wrote it, yes, you should. Yes. Thank you very much, Rich.
Yes. You notice that we got it right for the first time. Valatia?
No, I've always known. I lived in Kinderhook for years and went to middle school in Valatia. I know how to pronounce Valatia.
But you're not we, and the thing is that we did get it right, and it's when you think about it, Don, that's more money than we approved over the first 2 years, really. I mean, it's and you had long brown locks at that time.
Yes. Well, we want to thank Megan and the governor's office for helping us maintain our budget through perilous times.
Yes, indeed. And the governor and well, anyway, you said it, and you said it better than I would. And now, is there any other questions or comments we need to add to?
Nope, we're ready to open the National Heritage Area meeting.
All right.
Either of you may call that to order.
And you're all invited, of course.
All right, the first item is our Heritage Development Grants. We're looking to award a total of $24,000 here. The first one is to the Albany County Historical Association for their Art Meets History Family Engagement Program. They've requested, and the Grants Committee recommends, $2,000. This program is a free drop-in workshops in drawing, watercolor, and herbarium making to promote engagement with history by making art. And I believe we have Catherine Costo, the Executive Director of the Historical Association here.
Thank you so much for this funding. The Ten Brook Mansion Albany County Historical Society is in one of the most diverse areas of Albany County. It's an area which is rapidly changing. Some might say being preserved, others might say gentrified, and it's also one of the most deeply impoverished areas of Albany. This program was designed not for tourists or for local families. It's under the idea of both can come together. Inspired by free community libraries, you've probably seen them, small kiosks for checking out books. We came up with the idea of an art checkout space. We will have trained artists and docents and volunteers encouraging families to come by at all hours to engage with special art-making programs, to engage with our site, as well as connecting with our long-standing Living History Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next grant is for the Friends of Claremont, inspired by our Clear Mountain landscape art in the Livingstons. And if this sounds slightly familiar to what we just did, it's because they're working together with Ten Brook Mansion. They've also requested $2,000, and this is, they're going to do 3 art classes and a gallery presentation in the areas of painting, drawing, and collage sculpture, appropriate for ages 15 and up. And since they're planning to run this in September next year, at least one of the, we believe they're planning to run one in September. We're going to ask them to make that a ramble event. Is there anyone here from the Friends of Claremont? Is Jennifer here? Jennifer Hamlin?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank the Greenway for not only this grant, but past grants that have made so much at the Friends of Claremont possible. As you just heard, we are planning to partner with Ten Brook Mansion. The Ten Brooks and the Livingstons are related by marriage. We will be offering 3 weekends next year, as you just heard, but more than simple art classes, obviously everyone will learn a valuable art skill, whether it's drawing, painting, as you heard, but each class will feature significant interaction with the landscape, with Livingston history, with the artists who were Livingstons also, and of course the collections that we have. We're very excited about it because the grant actually allows us to only charge $10 per person. One of the main missions of the Friends of Claremont is to provide programs at a cost way below market rate. And as many of you know, art supplies can be very expensive. So thanks to this grant, we can actually charge that $10, which will both invite new people to come to Claremont, learning about the landscape, the history, and the Livingston family, but also folks who maybe couldn't afford to learn an art skill because the other classes in the area are between $50 and $150. We are very pleased to be partnering with Ten Brook Mansion on this, and once again, we'd like to thank you for the funding.
Thank you. The next grant is the for the Hudson River Maritime Museum's Mary Powell Permanent Exhibit for $5,000. The Maritime Museum is overhauling its permanent exhibit on the steamship Mary Powell to better explain her significance in the Hudson River Valley, and Sarah Wasberg Johnson is here to describe that a little better than I can.
Yes, thank you. We are really pleased to get this grant, in particular because Dan told us about the second round of funding just a couple of weeks before it was due. So this is helping to fund a revamp of our permanent exhibit on the Mary Powell. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Mary Powell was possibly the iconic Hudson River steamboat. She was called Queen of the Hudson almost from the beginning. She had a very long career running from 1861 to 1917. And the exhibit about her currently is one of our oldest exhibits in our permanent gallery. So we're looking to update that and really talk more about her long career from the Civil War to World War I and how she remained sort of a constant in a time of really incredible social and technological and political change in the United States and the Hudson Valley in particular. She's also surprisingly, people are very nostalgic about her, even though she was scrapped between 1919 and 1921, so we're also kind of coming up on the 100th anniversary of that. But you still see images of her all over the Hudson Valley, so we also want to look at the role that nostalgia, modern nostalgia plays in kind of how she's remembered. So it's a big update for us. We're really excited. We're going to be showcasing some new artifacts. And in case you don't know, we do a new exhibit every year, but we decided this year we wanted to update our permanent exhibit because we'll be hosting the Smithsonian Waterways exhibit in January. So we're going to have a couple of exhibit openings this year, which we're excited about. So thank you very much.
Thank you. The next grant is for the Putnam History Museum Recreation, Nature, and Sports Exhibition for $5,000. This will be a new exhibition and related to community programming that explores and celebrates the recreational history of Putnam County, Phillipstown, and the Hudson Highlands. The Grants Committee is going to recommend $5,000 and also that they look to include the Hudson River Valley Ramble, the Great Hudson River Paddle, and work with both the Office of Parks and Recreation and Scenic Hudson for the events that they've done there over many years. I believe Cassie Ward is here from the Putnam History Museum.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you so much for this grant and for this funding. As Scott said, the exhibition will be located at the Putnam History Museum, which is in Cold Spring, New York. The exhibition will explore the history of recreation and leisure activities in Putnam County and the Hudson Highlands. Through the additional grant funding, we will be able to offer additional programming, which will include history hikes, kayak tours, and a 19th century vintage baseball game. Through this grant, we really hope to provide additional activities for Hudson Valley residents, as well as the thousands of visitors that make their way to Cold Spring each weekend, to the West Point Foundry and to Boscobel, and really to add to that historical interpretation and context of their current historic activities.
Thank you. The next grant is to the Fullerton Center for the Urban Archive app in Newburgh for $5,000 to expand the Urban Archive app, which amplifies community-based archives using a resource-sharing tech program. And I believe Jim Hokema, is it Hokema?
Yes, that's right.
Is here from the Fullerton Center. Thank you.
Thank you. And on behalf of the Fullerton Center, I'd like to thank you for this grant. To borrow a little glory, Newburgh is the origin city of the Mary Powell steamship, and in fact, the birthplace of the Mary Powell, the person after whom the ship was named. Anyway, as you all probably know, Newburgh is a small city with big city problems. Those of us who live there like to think things are getting better little by little. One of the positive developments last year was the Urban Archive Newburgh, which is an iPhone app which started in New York City a couple years before, and Newburgh became the first locality outside of the 5 boroughs to be included in the Urban Archive app. It allows, once you can download the app and then you see maps, a map of the city with little dots. You can click on the dot and see archival images of the buildings at that location. The archive was created through the efforts of the Historical Society, which I represent. I'm the president of the board, the Newburgh Library, and also the Heritage Center, headed by Mary McTammany. We all scanned a bunch of photographs and input all of the metadata, and then uploaded those to the Southeast New York Library Resources Council database, and from there, Urban Archive slurped up the images and put them onto the app. You can all download it and have a look if you have an iPhone. Unfortunately, it's not on the other one yet. At any rate, the grant will help us to expand the program, adding additional sites, as well as expand awareness of the program and diversify the audience for this interesting, wonderful piece of technology. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And the final grant is for the Yorktown Trail Town Committee for interpreting quarrying in the town of Yorktown with signs and online resources for $5,000. The purpose of the grant is to educate the public about the history of quarrying, once a major industrial activity in the Hudson Valley, by reconstructing and illustrating the forgotten history of the abandoned Mohegan Quarry located in a 343-acre town park with existing trails and easy public access. And Susan Siegel, who is the president of the Yorktown Trail Town Committee, is here. Susan?
Thank you very, very much for this grant, but before I tell you more about this exciting historic grant, I want to say thank you to all. We just completed the Mohansic Trailway, which was funded in part to the Yorktown Trail Town Committee and the town of Yorktown. It was a joint project. It was the missing link, a 20-year dream to connect the North County Trailway to FDR State Park, to then miles and miles and miles of other trails in Yorktown, and we just finished that. And it was on the Ramble schedule this last month. Okay. The quarry project is really exciting. The quarry dates back to the late 19th century. It has very special granite that was used in the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City. It's on the approaches to the George Washington and the Whitestone bridges, and also we provided the eagle carvings on the Arlington Bridge in Washington, D.C. that many people remember. So, and remnants of the quarry are scattered around the park, and you just go there when you're hiking and you say, what's that? Why is that there? Just debris scattered around and rocks with strange cuts in it. And so we want to do some interpretive signs to encourage people to come, both our local residents, but also as part of economic development to encourage more people to come and use the park. And we have tons and tons and tons of photos, which we will then put online to have this additional resource to explain the history, an important part of the economic history of the lower Hudson Valley. So we thank you very much, and it should be completed and ready for next year's Ramble.
Excellent. I would be remiss if I didn't note that both the Yorktown Trail Town Committee and the town of Yorktown received Greenway Trail grants for the Mohansic Trail.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Thank you.
All right, let's have a vote on those wonderful grants. Was there a comment back there, Jim? Yeah.
My apologies. I just neglected to mention that all of us involved in the Urban Archive were brought together by Naomi, her son, Rinskog, who is the head of the Fullerton Center, and she could not be here today. So just wanted to make sure that was in the record.
Great, duly noted. Okay, so this is a
Kevin,
oh, yes.
I might just add about that last grant, Yorktown. We in the National Heritage Area many years ago designated as one of our areas of emphasis the corridor of commerce and industry. And we have surprisingly few, maybe I shouldn't say surprisingly few sites that we can promote internationally here in the Hudson Valley that celebrate the industry and commerce of the valley. This will be one of them, I hope, because quarrying has always been tremendously important, and after all, at this late date, with the quarries no longer active, one cannot say that it's doing any harm to nature, but it would do a great benefit to recreation and education. Thanks.
That's great.
Is that a motion?
I will move all of the approval of all of the grants.
Very efficient, Scott. Thank you.
On the Yorktown Trail Town, yes.
Okay. Any other recusals before we finalize? Okay, so we need a second to Wince first. Okay, thanks, Jane. All in favor? Aye. Please signal. Okay. Any opposed? Great, okay. Those awards are made.
All right. Beth Campachero is going to update us on the 20th anniversary 2019 Hudson River Valley Ramble. Since you have no microphone in front of you, yes, you have to come up here.
Come on down.
Yeah, well, we're still, this was the 20th anniversary, which was really exciting for us, of the Ramble. We're still gathering numbers. We want to give the event leaders some time to get us their participation numbers. So we should, by the next meeting, have more of an idea of how many participants we had. But we had 214 registered events. And we had 1 or 2 cancellations due to unforeseen circumstances, which always happens, but that's okay because we asked them to register by June, and then we publish the booklet comes out in August, and the events aren't until September. So, but it's safe to say we've been keeping up our past few years of over 200 events. So we're very excited about that. And we want to thank especially the Estuary Program for their continued support of our program, their financial support. New York State Parks did a number of events this year, so we're very pleased about that. Jane Daniels and her husband Walt led their 20th Ramble this year. And they had more than 30 participants, and it was on the Mohansic Trailway, correct? Yes. So lots of people interested in that new trail that the Greenway was able to help fund, and through a lot of work of the Yorktown Trail Committee and volunteers, it was completed. So, so that was one of the best events. And we decided this year to task, I want to, of course, thank Cody Arana for being my right-hand person with the Ramble. Probably some of you corresponded with him if you have been a part of the Ramble. But we tasked him with trying to find out how many events have we had total in the 20 years, and how many partners have we had in total in the 20 years. So this was a bit of a tedious thing for him to go through, looking at, we have all of the old Ramble booklets, and we estimate that we've had 3,500 events over 20 years, and more than 500 partner organizations working with us. So we're very proud about that. So. And so just to leave you with that, and also to let you know there is a giveaway for people that were on Ramble events. So if they didn't get a comment card at their event, they can still go on the website, HudsonRiverValleyRamble.com, and leave comments. And if you're a Ramble leader, you can also let us know your attendance numbers and a little bit more information, and be entered into a giveaway for that as well. But thank you, everybody. Oh, well, so we have a $100 gift certificate to LL Bean, which they generously donated for both the Ramble leaders and for Ramble participants. We have a backpack from REI, which was donated, a day pack for hiking. And also we have decided this year, because it's the 20th anniversary, Scott's suggestion, to give away some of the t-shirts, because they are special 20th anniversary. We repeated the colors that were used in the very first Ramble, so they're royal blue with white lettering. It's as kind of a callback. And so people are always asking, where can I get a Ramble t-shirt? Well, they're just for the leaders, really, but this year we're going to give them away to some of the participants. So thank you very much. That's it.
All right, thank you, Beth. And Cody did do a lot of work this year and last year, but Beth has been doing a lot of work on this since my hair was, whatever you said before, 15 years, something like that. So thank you very much, Beth. The next item on the agenda is the Washington-Rochambeau Revolutionary Route National Historic Trail Update.
Where is the colonel?
I don't know where the colonel is. It is not my day to watch him. Virginia. Oh, he's in Virginia.
Okay.
Looking for Santa Claus, apparently.
There's a lot going on down there in Marist, and I hope he wasn't trampled.
Well, we'll get him in December. The National Park Service is responsible for managing the Washington-Rochambeau Revolutionary Route National Historic Trail, or as they call it, WARO. The Friends group, who we've worked with for years and participate on, is the Washington-Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Association, or W3R. They're a 501c3 corporation. So there's two different areas that we're working in with two different partners on this historic trail. The National Park Service recently appointed Steve Sims as the superintendent and Johnny Carolyn as the trail administrator. Johnny and a consulting firm spent September holding meetings in each state along the route and with the rural historic sites that they've identified as being the most important sites for interpretation and for developing other items to interpret the trail. A few members of the W3R group were invited to this. Also, I was one of the attendees. They've identified 14 critical sites in New York that should be part of the trail. The New York delegation had suggestions to add a couple of more sites, including West Point, which somehow did not make their list. WARO is planning to update the current signage package, which this is the current sign over here to your left, my right. Those of you from DOT will recognize that this is not MUTCD compliant, which is an issue that we've raised with the Park Service, and the Park Service is aware of it. So they will be developing a new signage package to come out with an MUTCD compliant, which are the sorts of signs that you can put on roadways so you can direct people to the sites. We can't use that sign. They will also exploring creating a driving tour app that will be modeled on our Hudson River Train Tour app. So we're working with them to develop or to showcase what we've done so that they are aware of that. So that's the update on WARO W3R. I'm not going to repeat the name again because I'm running out of breath. The next item that Megan had mentioned before is the Hudson River Train Tour app was awarded a New York State Tourism Industry Association Digital Marketing Award last month. This was held at their annual meeting in Auburn where they give awards away. They had a local artist who did this painting, and then everybody got a print with a plaque with their name on it. So it's one of the nicer awards we've ever gotten in terms of, it's going to look really good hanging up in the office. And we're grateful to have been chosen for this award, and we also want to thank BBG&G, who is our marketing partner.
Ladies and gentlemen, that award could not have existed but for Scott, and you deserve a lot of credit for getting. And it really is what the Greenway and the Heritage area is all about. And you did a heck of a job on that, Scott.
I'm going to share the credit with Dan Jeanson, who has done a lot of the legwork on the app.
Scott, can you remind people how they can find the app?
The app is available in the Google Play Store or in the App Store on iTunes. There's a rack card in the back that has a QR code that will take you to your app, to our website, which can then where there's a link to your app store. Search for Hudson River Train Tour, and it will pop right up. And yesterday afternoon, about 2 o'clock, we received our last 10 stories, which will mean that we will be going from the current 6 themes to 9 themes. We'll have 4 different audio tours that you can take going down the Hudson on the train, as well as all the other sites, and we will give you more information on that and maybe let you hear some of them at our next meeting in December. Next item is, we're really excited about this. The National Park Service, the Roosevelt Estate, and the Roosevelt Library have all approached us about sharing women's history in the Hudson River Valley. We're going to schedule a conference for Tuesday, December 3rd from 10 to 3 right in this room. We will be a co-host along with all of those folks. And the idea is to convene local partners within and adjacent to the Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area to share commemoration plans for the 19th Amendment and facilitate collaboration, create a richer narrative of suffrage history within the region by weaving together sites that represent different parts of the story, share National Park Service digital resources available for partner use, share information on National Park Service projects that allow for partner participation, and to discuss how the National Park Service can help support continuing dialogue partnerships. We will be reaching out in the next week to all of our designated heritage sites to invite them to this meeting. And anyone here who runs a heritage site, we sure hope you'll come too.
Can I just add?
Yes, please.
I would just suggest to all of you, I just read the Declaration of Sentiments yesterday that were done at Seneca Falls. And for all of us, I think it's just so interesting what the women were saying back 100 years ago about their life with men in our country. So, and we celebrate the men who gave us the right to vote, because women couldn't vote to give themselves the right to vote. It had to be men that did it. So, but I go online and just read those Declaration of Sentiments. It won't, 5 minutes or something. It's just very, very interesting. So, thank you. I hope that's a part of it. I'm sure it will be a part of your discussion.
Thank you. That's it for the National Heritage Area meeting, if you want to.
Okay, so that moves us to the Conservancy. So let me call the Greenway Conservancy meeting to order. And I think we've got a pretty nice resolution to start with. It's formal and formalizes the Empire State Trail in a way that I think we are excited to do. So Scott, let me have you get us going on that.
Okay. So, one of the requirements that we have when we provide a grant to someone to create a trail is that they designate it as part of the Greenway Trail System. Well, we've been providing $123 million to develop a Hudson River, or develop an Empire State Trail here in the Hudson Valley. So today we are going to ask you to pass a resolution to designate the 184.6 miles that are not currently designated of the 226.7 miles that will be here in the Hudson Valley when the trail is complete in 2020. And I believe that's the only thing we have to vote on. So if you want to call for a vote.
So this would formalize our adoption of the Empire State Trail, which is, I think, one of the most exciting things to come along in many, many years. So let's do it. This is just for the Conservancy. I need a first and a second from one of our members. So Jane, okay, and a second again for the Conservancy. Sarah, wonderful. Excellent. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Wonderful.
Excellent.
Great.
So that now becomes the most trail we've ever designated in one resolution. So surpassing last meeting's Hyde Park Trail System, and I want to take a moment to recognize the efforts that Kathleen Davis, formerly of the town, Recreation Director of the town of Hyde Park, now happily retired, and Carl Beard, still working for the National Park Service. They were the leaders of getting this 44-plus mile trail system in place in the town of Hyde Park, working with federal, state, local, nonprofit, and private partners, which is pretty unique in any designation we've ever done before for a trail. So if one of you or both of you would care to say a few words, we would love to. But first, let us say thank you.
Thank you. First of all, thanks to the Greenway. I should say that I think in 1991, the first 3.4 miles of Hyde Park Trail were one of the two first designations made by this organization.
I remember walking along Route 9 measuring that trail.
Yeah, we've since increased.
You've come a long way.
Yeah, tenfold or so. But as you say, none of this can be done alone. This is all done with partners. And so also, hats off, great thanks to our partners at State Parks, Winnicke Land Trust, Scenic Hudson Land Trust, the Mid-Hudson chapter of ADK, the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, the volunteers we've had from Boy Scouts, a number, I think 18 Eagle Scouts we've used in our projects, Marist College and CIA who have become occasional maintainers of our trails. Also our host park here at National Park Service, Dutchess County Department of Health and Dutchess County Planning Department have been enormously helpful. And up until this summer, my staunchest colleague, Kathleen Davis, chaired the Hyde Park Trails Committee for almost 20 years. It was an unexpected consequence of her becoming the Hyde Park Recreation Director because she was astonished to discover that in that role she was the chair for life of Hyde Park Trails. It's written right into our enabling resolution. She has since bailed out, and now she's a humble volunteer. Anyway, but she's helped us many times over the years, been a great leader, and thanks again to Greenway for giving us grants along the way to help us do some of our finest, what I'd like to think is our finest work. So again, thank you.
And thank you both. Kathleen, we're really going to miss you. Next item on the agenda is an update on the Empire State Trail. You will find, board members will find in their packet an update on the entire trail and an update on the Albany-Hudson Electric Trail that Andy Beers put together. Normally he would be here doing this, but he has absconded to Italy and is sitting on a beach someplace drinking wine. Thanks, Andy. Both are available on our websites, newyork.gov/program/Empire State Trail and ahettrail.org. The Empire State Trail construction activities are ongoing statewide. They will shut down late this fall. They will resume in the spring of 2020. 30% of the projects are completed, and another 46% are in construction. The rest are in final design or are out for construction bids. So that's the overall quick snapshot on the AHET Trail, or on the Empire State Trail. The AHET Trail construction has started in the town and village of Nassau, the towns of Schodack, Stuyvesant, Kinderhook, and Chatham, and the villages of Kinderhook and Valatia. So more information available on the website. We are excited. Paul, do you have anything you want to add?
Enjoy those stats, but heads up, we're actually making progress.
You guys, you and Dara have done a tremendous job of harnessing a very tight timeline and seeing a lot of good projects come to fruition, including a brand new gateway at the State Fair in Syracuse. So.
We should, in fact, celebrate this at some point. When will it be possible to say we've completed that section?
The AHET Trail we expect to complete next fall.
But this time next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, I mean, construction crews will be pushing probably from November 15th, to the tip of the weather, to the tip of the winter, get everything in. So, weather dependent.
The governor has given us to the end of next year, so the end of next year, period.
So we want to invite the governor to our meeting. I hope we can come, but if you can't, in any event, this is an extraordinary event when it happens.
It will happen. It is on the way to happening thanks to Paul and Andy and Dara. Moving on to my executive director's report. Everybody here can read, so I'm not going to rehash it. A lot of it we've already talked about. But I did want to thank our staff of, well, there's 8 of us total, including the 3 people that work on the Empire State Trail, and you've just heard about some of what we've been doing. These folks are really hardworking, they're really smart, and they're really dedicated to their jobs, and they make all of you and me especially look good every day. Thank you. Please stand up, staff. Paul, Beth. New business public comment. Does anybody have anything for the good of the order? Kitty.
I'm just wondering where the public should go when we see problems on the EST. In my community, we have a bike lane and a very busy part, and people who know our town know to stay in the middle of the road, but I've had people pass me on the right using the bike lane to make a right-hand turn. And so, so I called the DOT. I got the PR department who said to call my local police, but it wasn't a crime. I just want to bring this to the attention of whoever. Is there a way to find out who our regional DOT people for the Empire State Trail are?
Well, currently, I guess it would be Andy. We are developing, as we work to construct, we're also working to develop the mechanism that will exist. We're working with state parks to develop a mechanism that will exist to report problems and for those problems to be parceled out to the correct state agency that manages whichever segment of trail you're talking about, or if it's a local trail, the local trail manager to address. That doesn't exist yet. Andy is much more able to speak to that than I am. So if you can ask that again in December, you might get a better answer than I'm able to give you today.
I'm a little bit worried about waiting until December, but
Well, for now, if there's a problem, call us. You've got our number. Call us.
Okay, great. Okay.
All right.
That really is the best way. It's Jason Wolfmeyer from the DOT. That really is the best way to move forward because a lot of the on-road segments aren't really, only part of it is state road. A lot of it's local road or county road too. So the way that Greenway is looking to set it up, you will get the best point of contact. If you're going to the Department of Transportation, it's actually likely that it's not a Department of Transportation, something that we have control of. We have stuff on 299 and some other locations, but most of the EST is being built on local and county system.
And Andy and Paul know the nuts and bolts of where things are going, and they know the contacts, well, Andy knows the contacts. Paul, it's not fair to ask him. Paul's a construction guy. He's not a management, user management, but that's Andy, and Andy's in Italy. So if you want to go to Italy and ask him, but you may not get an answer till December anyway. But for now, call us.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, our upcoming board meeting. Oh, I'm sorry.
First row and back.
That guide was made by Erie Canalway National Heritage Corridor, who is partnering with the New York State Canal Corporation to manage that local water trail segment. The Greenway and the governor's office are not going to be creating new water trail guides for the Empire State Water Trail. That will be up to each local water trail administrator, whether they have a guide or a website or how they're going to do it. And let me just add that these workshops are the training that every National Heritage Area hopes to do, and almost none of us have the staff to do it. And being able to partner with Greater Hudson Heritage Network puts us leaps and bounds ahead of some of the other heritage areas, and provides not only our designated historic sites, but historic sites around the region with crucial training and techniques that they can use to preserve their collections and interpret better to their visitors. Anything else? All right, let me just say our next meeting is December 11th. And on your agenda, you will see we've set the March 20th board meeting dates all in this room. March 11th, June 10th, October 14th, and December 9th. We do have an executive session coming up for the Conservancy Board, which means everybody but the Conservancy Board will have to leave the room. But before we do that, Kevin has something he would like to bring up.
Yes.
I didn't want this fall meeting to end and for us to meet again months later without acknowledging a very special milestone that's coming up. And I like to think about the fact that if the Hudson Valley had a Mount Rushmore, I've mentioned this before, it has a few important figures on it, but one of them would be Barney McHenry. And I don't know if anyone's had a greater influence positively in the Valley since Bill Clinton. And we wanted to just acknowledge a very special birthday coming up for you at the end of the month, Barney. We won't say which milestone it is, but it's a milestone. And I thought that we should have a cake in your honor, and also let's sing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow.
2 digits.
It's got 2 digits, that's right. So please join me in singing for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. And then have your birthday. Okay? For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow. And so to all of us. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Barney. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
And thanks to all of you, and we've been doing this for how long, Scott?
400 years.
Yeah, and 400 more. And it, Sarah, you're here? Yeah, well, again, thank you. None of this could have happened without Sarah, because you got to have a place to have it happen. And she has done so much to make the Greenway and the heritage area a success. And now let's have some cake, right?
What we want to do now is you're adjourning the council meeting, correct? Yes. And we would invite everyone to join us in the hallway for cake, except for the Conservancy members. We ask you to stay for the executive session. Right. And before we adjourn the Conservancy meeting for the executive session, we do need to tell you that we have received a letter from the town of, the code enforcement officer in the town of Stockport, and hired a law firm to address the letter, and that we now want to go into executive session to discuss the various litigation strategies. So we need to ask for a motion in a second.
No, we got to go right into the session. Is that okay? It'll be short. Okay. I'm sorry. I know.
We need a motion in a second to go into executive session.
Okay, so this is for everyone or just for Conservancy? Okay, so for the Conservancy members, we do need a motion in a second to go into closed session. So first and second.
Jay and Kitty.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so let's just huddle in executive session over here.
I'm so excited. My first land acquisition.
Oh, and those on the phone, please hang up. Okay. And turn off the mics, right.